Hey there, Alix Sabatelli Rager here. Welcome to Love in Waves episode number 2. Here's the deal. I'm going to do my absolute very best to stay in 11 minutes, somewhere in that range, and I could talk for hours, and maybe this will become long form down the road. But my goal here is not to talk your head off. I want to give you bite-sized pieces of how-tos, but I got to start with some context, right? So what am I teaching you how to? I'm teaching you how to have a better body, better life, better relationships, better everything, right? But we're doing this from a top-down approach. And so this really begins with just really talking about a couple of key concepts to begin with here in the next few videos, and why we want to raise our level of consciousness as the answer to getting the better body, the better relationship, the better life, the better everything. Okay, so first things first is that we create our own reality, whether we're doing it consciously or not. Please hear me when I say that. We are, and we really are good at playing victim, that the world is happening and things are happening to us, but they're actually happening for us. So you'll get this concept more as we move along, but I just have to just flat out say it. We are creating our reality, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously. You've heard plenty, I'm sure, already by now about law of attraction, why it works, why it doesn't work. And it's all where you're coming from, because everything in this entire experience is also relationship. How we relate to the world is our perspective, right? So perspective is our reality. We create our own reality. Our reality is our perspective of what is happening in this reality, or happening, we think, to us, but for us. And then it's how we relate to that. Okay, so you might want to rewind this and listen to that a couple of times to really capture the self-responsibility that it really requires to embrace. I am creating my own reality. I'm in relationship to everything that's happening, including my own body, the relationships that I'm in. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And my perspective is giving me my experience. Now, where's our perspective coming from? Our perspective is coming from our experiences in life, right? They're coming from our past, from our programming, from traumas, from our childhood, from everything that has happened in our lives. And there's so much unprocessed stuff, right? Unprocessed emotions and events that literally get trapped and stuck in our field, which I'll show you in a minute, in our mind, and that then actually lodge into our etheric body, which then actually create stoppages and blockages in our bodies. This is dis-ease. Things are not flowing. They're blockages. And again, comes from perspective, comes from emotions and thoughts. And we're going to dissect all this in this series. So I think what I'll first start with here, since I just kind of got to the basics of we create our own reality, I'm going to say it again, we got to own that, and that our relationship to reality is our perspective. That perspective is created from our ego, or what we've identified as I am this, I am that, because of our past traumas, our past life, our programming, what's been happening in our life. Okay, I think I've said that enough times now for that to start to sink in. So I may have, so my daughter's helping me, by the way, with editing and things like that. So I might have her pop this up on the screen, but I wanted to show you this really detailed version of like a scale of consciousness. Okay, so I'm just going to move it up here kind of up close and just show you that we have different dimensions that we live in. What are dimensions? It's just what we're tuned into from our perspective, which is going to give us an experience in our lives right now. So there's different dimensions we live in. There's a third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and upward. Now, what does that mean? Well, how can we tell, first of all, where we are at in these dimensions? Sorry about that glare there. When we're in lower emotions, this is an emotional scale over here, an emotional scale. These different emotions here are indicating which dimension you're living in. And when you look over here, sorry, I'm figuring out the whole reversal here. Here's hell, here's purgatory, the in-between, and then heaven. This is an experience. This is part of our experience of reality that we're creating, and it's related to the emotions that we're most dominant in. Okay, so we've got shame, despair, fear, anger, pride, courage, optimism, acceptance, understanding, inner wisdom. This is this reason area. Inner love. This is the love frequency. And then oneness at 540, which is also known as unconditional love. And then we move into self-realization. otherwise known as the beginning stages of enlightenment. Okay, why does this even matter, right? I'll tell you why. Because from 200, which is courage, down, that's about 85% of the population, and they're only experiencing joy less than 20% of the time. And at that level, we're really operating out of the ego. We don't even have an etheric brain that allows us to feel the connectedness to the source of who we really are. So as we move up in this scale, we are more connected to the source of who we really are. Now, I'm not here I'm not religious, okay? I'm very spiritual, but I'm not religious. So you can call that source whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it source. But as we move up this scale, we are sourced by source, and this is where our power is. There's a logarithmic difference between each of these levels by the power of 10, that as you start to move into higher and higher frequencies, higher and higher emotions, and realities of where your perspective is and where your creation is in your life, you're actually going to create more and more and more joy. Look at these: optimism, acceptance, understanding, love, unconditional love. Now, what's that going to do for the choices you make in your life, if that's the lens that you have? And why are you not there now? Okay, so that's what we're going to have to dig into. I didn't start my timer here, so I don't know if I'm 11 minutes in yet, but I'm just going to say I have another little handy dandy thing that I created here just to kind of take that same scale, make it a little smaller, and give you a body just to show you a little bit more context here, what I'm talking about. We'll get way more into some of these things. Again, I'm not here to teach all the concepts, but you got to have context in order for this to start to make some sense. But let's say here's your body here. That's your body. That's third density. That's that's just, the physical body. That's not who you are. It's the vehicle in which your soul gets to use to express in this world, right? That's just the body. You're not the body. You are the soul. And you're expressing through this body. And so the mental body is kind of that connection from the source to the body, okay? Then we've got these different layers. We've got here the subconscious mind. We've got the karmic body. This is, from all the karma we got to work through. And then you move up into the Buddhic mind, or the Buddha mind, Buddha nature, or Christ consciousness, or unity consciousness, however you want to call it. That's where you're reaching like that nice 500, 540 level, and then above, and then you move into enlightenment. Now, again, I'll get into more details about this. What I want you to see is the emotional body is this wide emitting frequency that comes out of you. Your emotions are literally coming out of you, and they are attracting everything like it. Okay, so we'll get more into that. And then around your body is the etheric body. This is actually the non-physical part of you that is being created all the time, that's actually creating your body. So again, without going into a bunch of deep science, these are things you can totally look into. I could go down so many rabbit holes explaining this stuff. I want you to get just the overall context. Body, mind, soul. The body is the body right here. The mind is this piece here that's moving its way through, but it's also creating the etheric body, right? So it's kind of the fourth dimension. Body's third dimension. Fourth dimension is the mind. It's non-physical. We tap into it with our physical brain, but it's outside of us. And then the soul is what we really are, is what's connected all the way through. So we've got all kinds of stuff to get through from the soul to condense itself, which is the soul, by the way, is fifth density and up, or fourth density and up, fifth dimension and up. But the soul is trying to come into this body and express through this body. But we have all this karma, we've got all this subconscious crap, we've got all this emotional baggage and stuff that it needs to get through that it's not getting through. And it's keeping us in the same level of consciousness. It's keeping us stuck in these lower levels of consciousness here, and not allowing us to move up the scale into the joy and the peace and the healing that happens when you get to these higher frequencies. Okay, so now that's like the big lesson part of it, if there's a lesson at all. What I really want to just talk about here is, again, when we get to these different levels of consciousness, they're basically, what they are is it's like their own paradigm. It's a paradigm. And it's created by the thoughts that we have, which are 99% of the time or 95% of the time coming from the past or from the future. So they're not actually present. So we are reliving the past and we are trying to control the future. We're reaching for outcomes in the world that we've already created in order to rearrange things and change them to feel better. And we're working on this third dimensional level that is not allowing us to move out of that paradigm, because when you're in that paradigm of thinking, you can't see outside of it. So in order to break through the fulcrum point, which is the turning point from force, which is this lower part, it takes force to make things happen when you're in the ego, to power, which is when you're connected to source more and more and more. In order to move through these, it's going to take getting to courage, which is the 200 level. It's right here. That 200 level, a couple of magical things happen. First of all, you start to tune back in. You're always tuned into source, but the clouds are thinner. So you're able to have that spiritual power, if you will. But also your etheric brain is born. You don't actually have an etheric brain. You're not going to feel that source until you reach that level of courage, that 200 and above. Again, 85% of people aren't there yet. So just know it's okay if you're not feeling that spiritual connection yet, right? It's okay. But it takes courage to get there. So when you learn a couple of these principles and you start hacking at it, and I'll talk a little bit at the end of this, how we can start hacking at it so we can get past that courage level and start building our spiritual will, that spiritual willpower that'll start really propelling us upward with more and more logarithmic power to be able to have the kind of life that we really, really want. And all the things that we're trying to get in our physical outside, they'll start to show up as a reflection of what's happening inside, because that's the only way things are going to change. You got to go in, because everything out here is just a mirror of what we've already created, unconsciously mostly, right? That's why I said that in the very beginning. So to get to courage, you have to understand that you have to be willing to step into the unknown a little bit. You have to have the courage to do a little something that you haven't done before, a little different, with faith and trust. And that's what we're going to be working on throughout all of this Love and Waves, all through the series. How do we do that? How do I forgive somebody who I don't think I can forgive? How do I let go of this old belief system that I've had forever that is clearly holding me back? Why is it that I can't manifest the thing that I know I want, that I'm super emotional about, and I'm following all the rules for law of attraction, and it's not working? What's going on there? We've got to get unstuck from the level that we're at. And that's where I'm really here to help you hack at it, to up level to the next one. And then what do we do there? Up level to the next one. And what do we do there? And guess what? Yes, we're going to work at the body in the different areas, but you're also going to naturally see in your life all of these areas just start getting better and better naturally on their own, because who you are and who you're becoming will only reflect in that way in the world. Your perspective changes, your lack of judgment your judgment on the world, your victimhood status will change, your service to self will start to shift to service to others. And I'm not talking about sacrifice here. I'm just talking about the come from and what we do and how we think of the world and the oneness. Because as you move up that scale, you're going to recognize more and more and more, we are all one. We are all energy at the base of it all. We are all in this energetic soup, and we can create exactly what we want. We just got to learn how to get that spiritual power or that source power back in line with us, bring ourselves back into alignment by making some shifts in our lives, getting some hacks going, and knocking down basically the only thing keeping us from here to here is the clouds. Imagine we already have the sun shining. It is who we are. We already are that radiance and that full divinity. We just have forgotten it. And we have all these layers of clouds and debris and junk and gunk and beliefs and judgments and identities and ego that's just clouded it over. So we chunk away at that. So I'm going to wrap it with this for this first lesson here, because I know it's a lot of big concepts, but with that context, continuing to whittle down into some of these little areas, again, I want to give you what can you do. So the first thing I can say is be willing to take a look at your own field. What are your predominant emotions? If you could ask yourself, okay, when I wake up in the morning, do I go immediately into judgment of other people's? Do I get angry very easily? Do I feel very guilty? Do I have a negative self-talk all the time? There's just different ways that things can manifest. Guilt, shame, some of these lower ones. Pride. Hello, pride. That's a big one. And people get really stuck in pride just before they get to courage and a little bit of humility, right? So take a little bit of stock, maybe write and jot down a few different predominant emotions you may feel, and just recognize how often we project that on other people and we don't actually own that, wait a minute, this is my perspective, this is my creation, this is my reality, and my perspective is creating my reality, and I can change my perspective. So that's what we're going to be working on, is changing that perspective. So some of the things that I do, and this isn't in any way to be a pitch, it's just so you understand, I actually work with the subconscious mind of my clients and help to identify and remove trapped different emotions, to identify imbalances, misalignments in the body, even disconnects from the spirit, from that etheric body and the body itself. All kinds of different things that I can help to realign and identify. I also have a couple of products that literally will instantly give you not only a result you're looking for right now in the outside world, right, in the 3D, but will also elevate your level of consciousness. It'll just boom, jump you right up. And those two things, if you go to my website, you'll see a link down below, and go to the Age Hacks page. The stem cell patches, the stem cell activating patches literally will reset, I think it's 4,000, up to 4,000 of your genes back, re-regulate back to a healthy younger state. And that literally lights you up and brings more energy into the body and can elevate your frequency. And then another thing, if you're looking to get leaner or more muscular and to feel better and to detox, I've got both a 7-day and a 30-day detox / high nutrition program. Both of these things are less expensive than your own meals, right? So like you can completely make a huge shift just by adjusting what you're doing a little bit. Obviously, of course, my healing practice and my coaching is not free, but I just want you to know that this is available, and there's other ways that we can work with emotions, and I will be doing some video on that as well, because 100% you can do all kinds on your own for releasing trapped traumas and emotions and things that are really what are keeping us sick, making us sick, and keeping us in that loop of victimhood and perspective that this is happening to me, and that it's not, it's the reality that it's actually happening for me. So we'll be working on some of those perspective shifts, a little bit more detail on how the mind is working and how the emotions are feeding, the creation of what's going on in our mind, and how we can take more control over our mind and our emotions so that we can work towards creating not only better perspectives, but a much, much more true reality to the alignment of who we really, really are, to the soul. Okay, we are not this body. This body is a vehicle. It is a beautiful, wonderful vehicle you want to take care of, but it's not who you are. Nor is the mind of the ego, right? That's not who you are either. That is just the basically the field from which we get to play and create with. We are the soul, and we are at a time now where we're on our way back home to the soul, and bringing that soul in and embodying that into this body and being conscious creators of our reality. That's what we're doing. That's what's going on. And everything in Sweet Spot Power honestly just supports that, because ultimately that's all we're really asking for. Depending on our level of consciousness, we might think, oh, I just need that next new girlfriend or that next new boyfriend, or I really just I've got to, lose all this weight and all these things. I get it. Like that's what we believe by doing those outside things, that's what's going to make us happier. It won't. It's just going to be another chase, another chase, another chase. And we'll end up going back to the same issues, same problems, same breakups, same weight going back on, or what have you. It's like there's just never enough in the 3D. So as we move up into this next level, you're going to actually source all that you're actually wanting from inside, and then it shows up on the outside. that's where I'm going to end it. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this second episode, actually, of Love in Waves. Again, much more coming, and it'll get narrower and narrower as I go. But these higher concepts, I think, are really important. I hope this made sense to you. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. And if you hit the little notification thing, then you'll actually get a notification before the premiere comes out in your email, which means if you watch it during the premiere and like it during the premiere, that really helps to get on the algorithm and spread it out and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm doing this for you. So I would love to get your thoughts on it and also your questions, because ultimately after I kind of get some of these concepts and ideas out, I really, really want to answer your questions on this. And soon that will turn into live. And really excited about that. So help me spread it out and let me know what you want and if you like it, and we'll just take it day by day, and soon enough I'll also have a schedule. So until then, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.